told I have to use this fancy mic, so sorry. So maybe I'll just hold it. So, hola, buenos días, bienvenido. Mi nombre es Randy Fernando. Yo soy un profesor con Universidad de Buffalo. Um, yo trabajo con universidad por 7 años. Um, and I think I've been with the Sustainable Futures program for five years about. I think this is a really special moment for me, particularly today. I'm really proud of the group that we have, the kind of 8 students that I've been able to coach through the past at least 5 weeks, along with my partner teacher, Steph Kramer. But ultimately, after the 5 years, this will be my final time with Sustainable Futures, due to like some growth that I'm doing back in the US. And I think it means a lot to me because I did this program as a student back in 2015. And I've got to come back again for like a lively 5 years to watch this place grow with the community. And it's always been a very special place in my heart. I think just being able to see the amount of investment from the people, the staff at the Institute, the kind of welcoming demeanor they have towards our students, our university, and again, towards us as professors and educators has been ultimately one of like the top moments of collaboration I've had in my life. So I just wanted to say that because I think I owe you guys all a heartfelt thank you for allowing me this opportunity to be here as an educator. But I think also just to be able to participate in the long legacy that Sustainable Futures has had over the past 30 years has been something kind of miraculous to behold. And I was just talking to actually Martha, a recent professor that just visited on Tuesday, who hasn't been here in 8 years even, and was just kind of remarking on how much has changed over that time. So it's quite, again, amazing to see how a community come together for each other, to be able to kind of work towards a collective progress, where there isn't that kind of selfish desire. So with that, I'll keep that short, but I felt I needed to say that today. And in lieu of that, I think I also just want to say how proud I am of the students here today. From day one, they were very passionate about kind of integrating themselves into the local community, oftentimes to the point of arguing with me about stuff. So we've had a lot of tense conversations, a lot of debates, and a lot of kind of passionate presentations within the studio from the student group of their own accord, without me requiring that. I think that was something very different this year. And I appreciated that quite a bit because it just told me how invested they were, back in the people in Monteverde itself. So hopefully through this project, you'll kind of see some of those things emerging. I would encourage everyone here to participate in the conversation and the discussion. Ultimately, as you guys know, with most community projects, this is going to be a way for us to instigate some of these ideas we have in mind, to kind of, again, figure out how we might collectively move forward as a group, specifically for, in this case, Fun School. So with that, I will pass it off to the students. So I'll have all of you guys come up. Okay, so this is a little bit of a thing that is coming from left field, but whoever's talking should carry the mic so we can kind of hear you guys clearly. So you have to pass it off a little bit. And then you just flip better.
Hello, thank you all for coming. Just to introduce us.
My name's Dylan.
I'm Devin.
I'm Pablo.
Buenos días. Hola, I'm Sean.
Mi nombre es Ian.
I'm Seida.
I'm Aiden.
I'm Savannah.
And we're the students for Sustainable Futures this year.
Oh, okay.
Hi. So once again, we are the Sustainable Futures. We're with the University of Buffalo. So this year, we were very fortunate to be tasked with a very large project. It's kind of unprecedented for us to have 8 students working on one big project together. This year, we have the privilege to work on the renovation of the Monteverde Friends School. So our overall goal is to create a plan to expand and renovate the school and create an accessible and flexible learning environment. We also want to make sure that we are strengthening the connection to the forest while also upholding Quaker values. We also want to be a model for sustainable development. And we plan to achieve this by creating a phased and adaptable approach to our construction.
Okay. To kick off our research, we took a deep look at the history of the site. The whole site has been constructed in phases over 70 years. And over these decades, the community has grown and the Friends School has become a pillar of the community. We saw this to be especially true in 2013 when I'm sure you guys all remember the construction of the new meeting house. You had dozens of members of the community come out and help with that.
So overall, when we're looking at context to our project, we wanted to take a big zoom out and actually look and evaluate the region. Thankfully, the Monteverde Friends School is kind of smack dab in the region. This works really great because we know that the Friends School actually services students from all over. When we take a closer look into our actual site, we wanted to make sure that we noted there are multiple ways to enter our site, not only through walking and bikes and cars, but we also have an emergency vehicle entrance at the very back of our site, which will come up later as this is where we're going to propose a new building.
Zooming into the existing first floor plan, some things of immediate note is the segmentation and inefficient circulation that paired with a conglomerate of expansion massings provides some opportunities for us to improve on. Some other challenges of the existing design described to us by the staff at this school is largely surrounding the lack of storage and differing classroom sizes and environments, which is typical throughout the school and can be realized on the second floor as well, as the lack of proper vertical circulation, the stairs, makes this building non-code compliant. In sectional view, the existing constraints are dramatized, caused by the shifting and uneven building masses replicated within the floor plates as well, creating truly awkward, cramped, dark, and oftentimes uncomfortable interior conditions in places that don't necessarily want to be, like this shifting axial hallway. Stepping outside to the elevations, the staggered planning and expansion of these buildings create undesirable roofing conditions that we've noticed thanks to it raining almost every single day here. We got to see it in action, so the roofs funnel mass amounts of water to a specific pinching point, allowing for flooding to occur in the compost toilet area. However, a beautiful moment that we want to celebrate occurs in the existing site, which is the breezeway, allowing for versatile use and providing a clear axial view through to the field and west-sided forests.
So when we were actually walking around the Friends School, we found a lot of these little social nooks that were all scattered around. Personally, I'm someone who likes to just go sit in a corner, so these are really fun to discover. But they're also something that we wanted to tie into our future project, as students really do love to traverse around the campus, and we want to make sure that we're creating more spaces, such as that patio or the private nook upstairs on the second floor.
Okay. As mentioned earlier, the site's been constructed in phases decades apart. This has led to the incorporation of many different material characteristics, such as the timber meeting house, the two-story steel frame building, and the old meeting house, which is of pine construction. This pine construction in the old meeting house has led to some termite damage in the last couple of years. This is deteriorating rapidly, so it's something that we immediately knew that we had to take care of.
While researching the topography, we realized that there are areas of drastic inclines as well as contrasting areas of flat terrain. So this affects both approach and it affects the water drainage. As you can see, a lot of the water on the site drains directly off into the streets. There are swales located at the back of the site, which move the site water around the school. However, one problem going forward is that a lot of the water is draining off into a proposed construction site. we researched the roof conditions of the existing building, and we found two existing conditions. One, where roofs come together, it creates flooding and storage of water, which can lead to rust. And then this split clerestory roof, which helps us to manage water and opens up northern light and ventilation opportunities.
We analyzed data from the Institute, and from that, we were able to understand that the school is within the comfort zone during its operating hours. However, inconsistent rain patterns are what's causing uncomfortability on the site. Coupled with the predominant wind direction from the east, we have considered the design decisions that will alleviate this weather condition, especially during the month of November, and using it to help the site rather than hurt it.
So we did a sun path analysis to understand the sun altitude and movements. So as you can see, most of the sun altitude um, during all season is around 30 to 40 degrees, which is high enough to um, heat up indoor space through skylights, and also low enough to hit directly on the sun south facing windows. And then this slide shows a sun exposure simulation of overall site during wet season, and the longest duration of sun exposure is about 12 hours and 44 minutes, which happening in the center of the sites. And although the least sun exposure area shift from west side to east side here, the central area still receive the most consistent sunlight, which is the best place to install all the solar panels, and but it's also the um, most vulnerable to overheating. Yeah. And then next we have a daylight simulation for the existing building. And so the result shows the inconsistent daylight across classrooms. As you can see, some room receive extreme solar radiation. That's when we use a thermal camera to run a test in kindergarten. So the amount of the windows is the reason causing the room overheat, and especially the south facing window, there's no tree shelter, so it's exposed directly to the sun.
So moving on from these existing conditions, we've taken a few pieces of what we think the site might be able to do, and we split up into three groups to explore how these conditions might affect the site and what it might look like. So the first study specifically is Axis, which focused on circulation and views out to the forest. Passageways, moving on to passageways, it does something similar in addition to the expansion and shifting of classrooms to offer varied spaces. Nodes, furthermore, digs deeper into these spaces and explores how programmed spaces mingle with each other and how they may take form.
So on top of our actual midterm review, we thought it was important that we reach out to the actual teachers and get their opinions on the spaces that need to be created. Some questions that we asked were specifically about flexible seating and storage within the classroom. We also wanted to know what were specific furniture pieces within the classroom that teachers really felt helped their classroom function.
So as we move on, we wanted to take a look as to what we'll be overall just looking at with the site. We will be deconstructing the old meeting house and other areas affected by the termite. The second thing is that we will be renovating a lot of the central area and pushing back the wall of the entrance of the kindergarten to allow for a circulation. And then finally, we will be we will be preserving the newer additions such as the new meeting house and the kindergarten. Here we could see we highlighted all the walls that we will be deconstructing.
This deconstruction gives way to the idea presented of sweeping circulation moves across an apparent grid of axes, influenced from the existing site that provide viewsheds contributing to the experiential immersion in the surrounding forestscape, which you can glimpse in this overview of our proposed work and experience in this beautifully detailed render.
The changes that we made to the site were done to meet code compliance and support productive circulation. We continued to use a language of steps and ramps to address the slope change, implemented a circuit system that. Okay. Okay. We continued using the language of steps and ramps to address the slope change and implemented a circuit system that allows for access to all major and minor points on the site and added lifts to create wheelchair accessibility onto the second floors. One of these codes was the corridor minimum. We made sure to follow for all of the new primary circulation to mitigate any tight corridor spaces that were dark and provide opportunities for social/educational spaces. Lifts we are proposing since they are cheap and fast to install. However, we did want to address some visual concerns that might be felt as the only current example of a lift is hidden behind Kasem. We're proposing to use an all glass enclosed platform lift that would complement the aesthetics of the building, making the lift something that is celebrated rather than hidden.
Now that we have a solid idea of how to move through this site, we can begin to unravel experiential details like ground treatment and further developing spatial nuances akin to that of the proposed programming, all surrounded by forests, gardening, and its related ecosystems.
With our new proposal, we reorganized the programs, and elementary classrooms were moved to the location of the old meeting house. Existing admin offices were centralized towards the middle of the building, and teachers' lounges, meeting or the conference room. Sorry, we've added new admin offices, including a conference room and teachers' lounge. We've also added 2 new bathrooms on the first floor to compensate for the expansion.
Climbing up to the second floor, the immediate ground connection to the forest is limited, however not lost, due to the extensive view sheds merged with circulation, paired with intentional biophilic design disruptions. Additionally, the rooms on the north expansion are similar. This is intentional. The stacked classrooms allow for typical floor square meters to remain the same throughout and provide an opportunity for expedited construction, saving time, overall costs, and materials.
The second floor of the main building is entirely dedicated towards high school classrooms. In total, we've added 6 new high school classrooms, and we've reorganized their sizes to be standardized. That way they're able to be utilized for any classroom needs, although we did offer recommendations for which classrooms would be what.
We are maintaining emergency access to the site between the new construction and the existing outdoor classroom. There's plenty of room for a vehicle to be able to get through.
So when it actually came to designing classrooms, we're not just creating just a random box or a random room. We actually want the students to be comfortable and enjoy the environment they're in. With that comes actual research on temperature, airflow, and comfort. Because wouldn't you know it, if your room is really dark and hot, you're gonna fall asleep and not pay attention to your teacher. So keeping all of this in mind, we wanted to make sure that when we're designing these classrooms, we're keeping all these major key features in mind. So temperature, airflow, lighting, and acoustics.
Modular systems can help reorganize a classroom into any organizational method in a timely manner. These systems can range from furniture in the classroom to doors on the walls. When talking about modular furniture, trapezoid tables are incredibly versatile in their arrangement and storage. Moving on to the next one. Here's just a GIF showcasing what these tables can do.
So, just a small visualization of what the classroom could possibly look like. One thing you would notice is we do have a wall. We were proposing foldable or collapsible walls, especially on the high school floor, as these classes can tend to get really, really big. And during construction, you're going to need flexible rooms that can expand at your will.
Connecting back to nature was one of our main goals, and we created private balconies slash patios for most of the classrooms, as well as rainwater management systems located adjacent to public spaces, which we would want teachers to use to teach students, allowing the school itself to be an aid in educational experience. This we're supposed to be a render here. Sorry. Okay. Moving on, we looked at a strategic window placement to continue to facilitate that connection to the forest and the campus itself. Utilization of flexible wall will also create the opportunity for extended views. These views also can double as surveillance, supporting teachers who would want to watch their students, as well as surveillance from the door during transitional periods. And admin is situated as a spot to be able to monitor who comes in and out of the campus. Our strategies of circulation and connectivity create hotspots that allow us to have unique social spaces that reflect programs.
So one of these spaces specifically is in that extension on the current meeting house. We are creating what we're calling a meditation node. So currently we have the 5-year-olds placed in this building. We did this on purpose. We were told in our meeting with our client that the current 5-year-olds are coming to school very dysregulated, and having their current classroom situated by the playground just gives a lot of movement outside, and they don't tend to focus on actual class time. So having them separated and creating this little meditation node not only gives them a patio for them to interact with the actual water coming off the roof, but a separate space for them to actually focus on what needs to be done in the classroom and not watching all the big kids outside.
This space is located on the second floor at the end of the hallway near the specialized classrooms. It's able to be utilized for rest and in breakout spaces for nearby classrooms.
So another thing about this site is we have a lot of trees that are really close to our building, but we didn't want to see this as a hindrance. We actually really wanted to celebrate this. So we've created an outdoor classroom around one of these trees, specifically at the back. This is towards the 5 and 6-year-olds. We're hoping that this outdoor classroom will give a break to the normal structure and allow teachers to actually present the outside world to their students and have the students engage with the environment around them.
We reinvigorated the existing bathrooms by transforming the space with a bench and then also a mirror. And this can be used by students to freshen up in the morning or after classes.
So another thing we have is because we had to make the floors accessible, we now have a very beautiful staircase, and we didn't want to just let the staircase just exist by itself. So we've created on the top by the high schoolers single study private study spaces. So if teachers are allowing students to go outside, they're right situated nearby classrooms and a giant circulation hallway, so they'll always be monitored. Also on this bottom, we wanted to create a book nook-esque space. So specifically for kids who are dysregulated, can go take a little break with the teacher, or could even have little class breakouts.
This area is located on the second floor by the balcony. We wanted the high school kids to have their own kind of like privatized space on the second floor just for them, away from like lower school students. It acts as just like a hangout area for the high school students and can also act as another breakout classroom just in case.
So this is a sun exposure diagram for our new proposal. By increasing the building to 2 stories, we create more shaded area over the courtyard and also the roof of kindergarten, which lowered the heat gain in these spaces. And then we also oriented our skylights toward the forest, which bring ambient lights for the rooms instead of harsh direct sunlight. And since the east side receive the least sun exposure, so that will benefit the phase one building here for providing passive cooling. Then, as I mentioned earlier, the center area has the most consistent sun exposure hours, which is the most ideal location to place all the solar panels. And we propose a total of 65 square meter solar panel area to distribute it into both sides of the roof. And then this side is the daylight simulation. So um, we face all the window toward west side, which creates more consistent daylight and thermal comfort to the room. This is same as first level. Um, this is second level. We have ambient lights over here from the skylights, and yeah, it's also consistent daylight and thermal comfort. But on the north side, we have more heat gain over here, which we have ventilation strategies to apply to, and will be explained in next slide. Thank you.
During our ventilation research, we came across several forms of creating apertures within the walls, which facilitate air movement through the spaces. We also explored different sectional qualities and elevation qualities for how ventilation could work in the rooms. And we implemented those in the first floor by utilizing, along these classrooms, diagonal ventilation systems. We noticed a strong east-southeast wind, which creates this wind tunnel in the space. And you'll notice that we are blocking our circulation space to prevent similar wind tunnel conditions here. However, we're also providing plenty of ventilation in all the spaces so that every space doesn't get overheated. Now on the second floor, due to the direct exposure, the direct sun exposure, those rooms will be getting a little bit more warm, so we implement these clear story windows to ventilate those spaces more rapidly. We have, oh, please go back. Yeah, we have smaller vents located at the lower parts of the walls to facilitate cool air intake into the spaces so that air is constantly moving out, doesn't get the chance to become overheated. We also went on into water management research, how we could use it to improve the site conditions itself. The first one that we found is the bioswales. So a swale is basically just a small ditch in the ground, which is used to facilitate the movement of water. We are implementing rocks and vegetation to slow the infiltration and erosion rates caused by water movement. Here we have a retention pond, which is a smaller stable ditch where water goes and rests, and that helps to reduce the amount of load taken on by outdoor flooding infrastructure, or outside. Then we go on to a rain garden, which is sort of an adaptation of a retention pond, which implements several strata, or several levels of sedimentation, again, to reduce infiltration. It's also populated by flood and water resistant plants. We are proposing a we also researched a a biogarden, so that we're able to better deal with wastewater management issues from the runoff and from the existing composting toilets. This is based off of John Todd's research. We are moving into the actual placement of these systems. So we were made aware of the actual watershed conditions and located our water management systems accordingly, not only where they would be the most practical, but where they would also be able to facilitate educational experiences and social experiences in the site.
So now that we have all of these details, we get the treat of moving on to comprehensive design. Yay. Starting with the north elevation, it depicts the exterior conditions of our passive lighting and ventilation strategies through the clear story roof. However, exploring the experiential qualities of the proposed classrooms as well. Sliding glass doors provide sweeping views into the forest and an even deeper connection when open for classrooms and teachers' lounges depicted.
Okay. And this was the eastern view that looks out to the park. And as we previously mentioned, was done for views and surveillance. And so we use larger windows. However, when making such decisions, we can't forget about the statistic of bird collisions leading to high fatalities of wildlife. And so we are taking preservation management systems that we've learned from the Institute and implementing it onto our site as well.
And this is again another perspective or visualization that shows us doing this more clearly on the side of a building that is facing the forest directly. Also note the new egress staircase, that is cutting through the building and allowing for access into the forest. So up here you can see where it's taken. There's a little like key. So the arrow sort of shows where it's being taken. Mhm. Okay.
It's located right near the old meeting house, like on that side of the building.
On the north facade, I guess we could say. Okay. Traveling south, following the screening implemented to buffer the Phase 1 building from the harsh wind and rain, on the east side is varied plantings sustainably managing major stormwater in the field and surrounding roofs, simultaneously filtering views between the existing meeting room and proposed art and music room, all tying into the enhanced school courtyard and its axial views. Completing our walk around the building is the focal point of the circulation and views, the courtyard. The axes point into it, remains empty for temporary programmatic needs, and is framed on two sides by various gathering points on the second floor.
So when we're designing these little balconies, we're keeping in mind biophilic design. It sounds like a big scary word. I promise you it's not. Biophilic design is basically creating these spaces that allow your body to reset itself. Our body naturally looks for nooks or spaces of repose or refuge. So we're creating these balconies outside these classrooms to allow not only the students to have a break, but the teachers as well.
As you might be able to tell by now, we are proposing the use of wood in almost all of our proposals. Compared to the costly and extremely unsustainable alternative of steel, which is the equivalent of burning 720 to 895 liters of gasoline for a single unit, it seems like the best choice. However, this is not a decision we make lightly. Sustainability is not just carbon footprints or green thumbs, but relates to a material, in this case, ability function, without needing to be replaced due to environmental or pest factors. After intensive research on types of wood, their attributes, commonality to Monteverde, and natural treatments, we have come to the conclusion that wood, when treated accordingly, can outperform and outlast environmentally unfriendly and unsustainable alternatives in siding, walls, floors, and significantly structure.
So here we can take a good look at the new wood frame structure implemented throughout the site. The structural grid is designed to be able to tie back into the existing buildings that we're not trying to impose on. We can see this happening in these diagrams on the right, where the proposed balcony is able to be tied up into the structure of the existing roof. Here we can see we're proposing concrete footers with a timber frame on top of these, and also the clear-story window on the top of the building. This allows a ease of view to the forest ventilation, ambient light into the spaces.
Cutting the building section, looking into classrooms and hallways from the courtyard allows for us to view the relationship between classrooms, entrance sequences, and circulation while maintaining the forest immersion through direct axial view sedge that you might be able to see here, 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 and here. Oh, and this is just one of the renders, again, beautifully detailed to show the circulation in perspective.
This is a section taken of our proposed new construction site. As you can see, it provides ample classroom spaces. It provides a covered corridor for entrance into the classroom spaces, and it provides watershed directly off into the proposed rain garden over here, which, due to its plantings, will be able to prevent the view from the meeting room to the wall of the new construction site. Not only does this block the view, but it also serves as an experiential learning quality so that the site can teach students about uh, the systems of ecosystems, how they work. This is just a quick render of that. Over time, these plants will grow larger. Other plants, such as banana trees, are also water resistant and can be planted as well in order to block off more of the view. However, this is just meant to show the relation, the spatial relation between the two buildings. This is this one.
Here we can see in section across the new construction, we can see on the second floor, we have a consistent floor plate to keep everything level across those classrooms. And on the first floor, we can see the stepping down across the contours of the site in these classroom spaces, each floor plate a little bit lower than the last. In addition to this, we can see again these straight shot views back into the courtyard. So if you're standing in the courtyard, you can see views to the forest.
All right. Although this may seem like a very large expansion, we concluded that we will be dividing this into 3 separate phases. The first 2 phases are very flexible in that they can be done at any time of the year. However, the third phase we recommend that it must be done during the off time, as too many programs will be displaced. Here we could see a quick model of the existing building. Now, the building that is highlighted green is a building that would be constructed. It was previously empty, therefore, its construction can occur during the school year if needed. The building highlighted in red will be the next building that will be deconstructed. For the second floor to be accessed, a new walkway will be built and connected from the central building. The reasoning for this is to allow for the access to the second floor of the newly constructed building, and this will open up to 6 classroom spaces. Finally, this is the largest building phase. This building phase is very massive, and we recommend that it must be done during the off time, as it will be very disruptive if it occurs during the school year. And then a quick look as to the final model of the proposal plan. Although we've been talking a lot of the overall change of the main building, we wanted to take a look as to back area of the front school. There has been many discussions possibly covering an overhead of the basketball court. This addition is not necessary. However, we wanted to take a look and reimagine this space if needed. We wanted to show how it could be expanded, and we proposed a covered walkway to the basketball court and more seating for more social spaces. With a roof over the court, it allows for students to utilize the courts when it rains and to provide shade when it's very sunny. And for another use is that it could be used as an extra classroom space if needed. This could also be used as extra examination space. And then finally, the third use is that it could be used for larger community events. As we know, a lot of the spaces are locked during the school year, so this allows for more space and more events to occur. And then here's a 3D look as to how the space could be reimagined. Again, it's not needed, but we wanted to take a look as to what could be done.
In review, this proposed expansion and renovation of the Monteverde Friends School addresses and offers possible solutions for existing challenges shared by staff members surrounding a necessity for more storage, more classrooms, a division of multi-purpose and purpose programming through phased expansion and renovation towards flex spaces designed to stabilize shifting square footages and environments across all rooms. These asks and inherent values of both the Quakers and ours are accomplished on the basis of sustainability at the imperative forefront, not as an afterthought. This concludes our presentation. I thank you for your patience and attention and now open this to the public forum discussions. Do we have any questions?
Overall, that depends on just what could be approved and what could be done. We are hoping that it can be done in a very short amount of time. As we mentioned before with the building phases, phase one, because it could occur at any time, it could, if completely concentrated, it could be hopefully completed within a month. And with the second phasing, as it could also be done throughout the school year, but if it were done during the off time, again, if the resources were focused, it could be done within that 2-month time frame. And then finally, with the third phasing, it is a very large phasing, and we know that could be very time consuming. And that's why we recommend that it be done during time off. And again, it could be done within a 2-month span if all the resources are allocated to that construction.
Piggybacking off of this, it ties a little bit to materiality as well. We have some experience with the existing meeting house, like the new meeting house that was just built within the past few years, and that they did a lot of off-site production and prefabrication of wood to be able to put it into the site and build it as efficiently and quickly as possible to minimize the disruption of the classes. This one? Yes.
So it's perfect. I'm wondering about fire escapes and the code on that.
Yeah. Fire?
Fire escapes, yeah. Different sides. Yeah. It's a matter of distance, like, and time to be able to get to fire, to a egress stair.
Yeah, and the egress there is also located between the phase 2 construction and phase 3 construction. And then the second staircase is located within the central building as it is now. So it should be ample spacing and distance between all around to allow for proper safety for egressing.
Now, we have a very limited amount of buildable footprint on this property.
Yes.
And you're proposing 2 stories on the primary building.
Yes.
It's unclear to me what you would be proposing on what we're calling the Music and Arts building, but I think which is more the first building. And
So as I mentioned before, with the second phasing, this yellow zone, as we can see here, we will be displacing like 3 classrooms in an office. During this time, we hope we could like move it towards the newly constructed art and music building temporarily as the construction can occur. Because we have a large squared metered there and 2 stories, there's an office and 2 program spaces, but they are large enough to divide up to hopefully have those classrooms function during the school year if needed. And then as we move on to the next construction phase, and once that is completed, a lot of classrooms will not be displaced.
Yeah, and to extend right off that your question, in this yellow construction here, when that's deconstructed and releasing those 3 classrooms, we calculated that roughly 48 people will be displaced. In this proposed art and music building, we have 100 square meters of space, which I believe every student needs roughly 2 square meters. So we are attributing roughly this building capacity to like 50 students, roughly 4 classrooms.
And just in terms of being able to sustain the like plant life and just the ecosystem that is there, we did design around the root system or the get that yeah I can do it in the section on the plan.
This one?
No,
No,
for
plan.
the classroom that I where's that at?
What?
The 2-story classroom thing with the yeah, do that in the section.
Let me find it.
There we go. So we are designing around implementing footers and foundation blocks outside of the root system of the Acosta Costa Ricana, which is the very endangered tree located here. And in terms of the basketball court, while this is a theoretical project as of now, it remains on the footprint of the basketball court foundation that is already there, and it expands up roughly 6.5 meters. So it won't be affecting a lot of the tree life, which is currently there. Canopy is much, much higher than 6.5 meters.
Does this answer your question?
Well, you said a couple of times that, well, that space really isn't needed.
Yes.
It's a possible extension that we were mentioning. The building will be under construction for a while, and so when we're looking about like possible like extended phasing, like going beyond what our scope was.
Yeah, this is just extra credit, really.
And you're saying the roof
Yes.
might not be needed, but the volleyball and basketball court will remain where they are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're not
Absolutely,
moving.
they're not usurping.
We're not usurping anything. It's meant to be there. This is really just like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to play basketball in high school?
So you didn't ask the question or consider the possibility that a multi-story building where the basketball court is could serve as classroom or office or storage space?
No.
It was mentioned, but we tried very hard to keep as much of the program within the current footprint of the building. We thought as keeping all of the programs together would make a more seamless campus. Having to push everything above that courtyard not only kind of gets rid of your nice, really nice, big giant field area, but would then have a lot of students transitioning all the way through in the rain. And I believe we also have a covered rule where when students are transitioning between classes, they need to have a covered pathway. So you would have to create a lot of covered pathway if you were to have a 2-3-story building on top of that courtyard.
And this is also all related to budget. So we work within a strain of, we know none of us are rich. We're not millionaires. We don't have millions of dollars to be spending on this. So although it'd be great to be able to, spread everything out and make like this illustrative, like campus, almost like a collegiate campus, there's sustainability, oh my God, there'd be no way. It'd be way too expensive. So in theory, we could put it up there, but we found that it's a lot cheaper to be able to group it all together and work within our constraints.
Replacing the primary wing, eventually you want that to be 2 stories. But you talked about doing it in 2 phases, starting with a 1 story
both the first and second floor will be constructed during this time, which is why we introduced a covered walkway that also has access to the second floor from the central building.
Well, why did I think of that as two phases? This is phase two.
The first phase is creating the building at the
Oh, it goes
art and music
there.
building.
Okay.
We also tried to utilize a stacked classroom system. So once again, that floor plan for the first floor and the second floor are, if not completely similar, very, very similar wall-wise. So they should be able to build straight up, which also helps with ease of construction.
Sorry. Okay, go.
Well, I'd like to see on the final, well, you could use this one. Where is that rain garden gonna go? I was kind of.
This is not the best view to show you.
Let me find it. Give me a minute.
The last year,
Like the large.
There's a few rain gardens that were designed to implement. There's one in this general area, which takes a lot of this roof and then a lot of the field water as well. And this is just in response of we need to, there's already a swale going through our building area. We need to accommodate this. How do we do so ecologically as well?
so show me the library.
The library is right here.
And the meeting house is
This
right
building?
there, okay.
Like a rain garden or other forms of green infrastructure that was mentioned.
Got that. Okay. So,
The research.
yeah. So in terms of the other things that exist, bioswales are meant to facilitate movement of water. They're not really meant to like retain anything. Right now there is flooding happening on this field right now. Just it gets muddy, and there are swales which exist back here. And I'm not tall enough to reach up there, but just up there. Devin, you got that? Yeah. Anyway, but no. So we're trying to have a semi-permanent, not semi-permanent, a temporary space of consolidation for all that flood water to go. And just because we're trying to preserve views, a retention pond wouldn't be sufficient for that. In order to prevent this from becoming a secondary flood site, we are implementing plants which are water resistant and native. So that's the Citronella costaricana and there's another one which I'm forgetting right now, but it's in the slides. And there is an overflow pipe located around here, but we also have where is it? Yeah, the reason why we didn't use a biogarden or the water filtration system is because it is waste. This would not be, this is a meeting room. This is not the place where you want waste products to be. Is that sufficient?
Yeah, you also mentioned like it can filter out stormwater runoff as well as other pollutants. What is the efficiency of that?
Okay, so this is based off of John Todd's research. So John Todd was a architect, engineer, and just environmental engineer specifically. And he developed this system using these several step processes. It is pretty efficient. It just basically re-simulates natural occurrences of water filtration that we find in what are they called? Mangroves and swamp water areas. So it starts off with, how detailed do you want me to get? Okay, so basically, thank you. So basically,
Also a system that's inspired by the institute from your observations, right?
yes, this does exist. It is pretty efficient. It just takes out, it lowers nitrogen levels, so it doesn't create algae blooms. It doesn't, so when it's released back out into just the natural water system, it won't carry toxins, high nitrogen levels, or biological contaminants. Thank you.
These are underground.
Uh,
Are these containers underground or is
So this is a representation to actually like show the documents based off of John Todd stuff. We need another like 20 slides. So basically, it's
starts with one underground system. That starts with the sequestering, and that's the anaerobic reactors phase. Okay, sorry.
I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
If people want to learn about what a rain garden is, they can just go behind the Fox Maple building, because there's a great example of one there. And you can go to the bottom of this building if you want to see an example of a fire garden. And you can actually see what it looks like.
Yeah, and so it does have, the one back there does have this like buried container of waste products, and that is the primary settling phase. So that is one that has to be done without a lot of exposure to oxygen. The rest of these, specifically these two aerobic phases, those require air. These are open air. The open aerobic reactors like large open environment, while the closed aerobic reactor is more of like a sequestered tank. It's like enclosed, it's a terrarium.
So yeah, let's pause at that because I think Kate is right. There's a lot of great examples on campus.
Yes.
I think we can extend that particular conversation maybe after.
Cool.
Good question.
As I currently teach at MFS, and I just want to thank you guys for your ideas and hard work, because I think you've been really thoughtful and thorough. Currently, when I teach, and changes are needed, because I teach small groups, and there'll be both rodent droppings that fall on my students and myself, and wings of, and the amount of time that teachers spend cleaning these old spaces instead of lesson prepping. So it's needed, and I want to thank you for your work on that. A question about, okay, so two things. One, I have a little bit of flashbacks from last year when the bathrooms were being built while I was teaching. And the construction happened to start the first week of school, and I work with a lot of kids that are dysregulated, and it was so disruptive. So we just need to be thoughtful. I think that whenever this can happen, perhaps it doesn't begin in August. And the other thing, the bathroom, I think is really cool, like the extending the new bathroom area that was built this year. Right now, it's a supervision nightmare though, something just to think about. Because it's kind of a nook, teachers don't have eyes on. It's not, so the only place that can see it is the director's office window and my office window currently. Yeah.
So we did notice that, which is why the teacher's lounge just happens to be directly next to that.
They got a lot of window knocks last year. But yeah, no, you have some beautiful ideas. I like the idea of starting kind of away from campus, the first build, which is nice. And separating that kinder area out, I think is really smart move. So that's it.
Thank you.
Have you thought about problems with large vehicles? Either bringing in roof panels or whatever, access is not that great. Something about that.
So that does tie back into the emergency vehicle work. We were told, especially when we started construction, that it already is a hassle to get stuff on the site. I think they're trying to get that lactation space somehow on the site. And you have a very tight driveway and parking lot. We've heard stories. So yeah, once again, when we're looking back at that art and music building, we tried very hard to make sure that we're keeping that average emergency vehicle width. So you're talking more in transportation. I think we were looking more as if there's a fire in that back kinder area, we want to make sure that a vehicle can still get through there without demolishing our roadway.
In addition to this, our footprint was sort of based around this, but discussing specifically this first floor, like ground, this is the second floor, hold on. Okay, looking specifically at the, it looks the same, whatever. Looking specifically here, we've actually had a pretty spirited debate about where furniture should be, how we should not decorate, but basically furnish the, I want to call it the quad, it's the courtyard, but we settled sort of on this idea of keeping it pretty open, so then we would be able to mitigate that idea of space usage and sort of having like larger vehicles come up this space and then, you know, be able to populate this area as well as, you know, do whatever they need to do.
What about on the back side by the new, yeah,
You mean this?
I think, see,
So specifically, this area is right here. So see this little like half circle at the bottom screen? Barely, not really. And then this is that phase 1 building that we've been talking about, the art and music, the kinder room, whatever. We zoom in on that, this is where we are now.
That circle is that circle island back by the basketball court.
Will anything have to be removed to make that happen?
No.
Not at all.
We tried our best to leave existing conditions as they are. So existing structure in that existing 2-story building, most of the landscape features, everything in the back is maintained. We put a lot of effort into this.
The goal of the renovation was not demolition. It was renovations and expansion. We wanted to make sure that things that were built, especially built new, deserve to live their life and not be touched.
We have one last question.
yeah, just, I want to say that the evolution from your midterm presentation now, I love the way that you have incorporated and come to sort of not so much a compromise. You've taken some of the best parts of each of the ideas, the notes. For example, you've taken those 3 designs and you've made them not only work together, but you've simplified the whole process. It's a big step forward. It's a great presentation. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We aimed to give you the Ferrari for the price of the Ford.
All right, so while we have you guys just for a few minutes, we're going to be making our way to the hopefully newly open park in the next kind of like 30 minutes. So before we do that, I think we just wanted to show some graphics and some images of what the students have been working on, along with a lot of the staff here at the Institute for the new park in La Cruz. So I'm going to just make this really quick and just kind of give some visual representations of where it's located and how it's been developing over the past couple of weeks. So this is the kind of location of the site in La Cruz that we were given. Obviously a pretty vacant property at the moment. It's going to be amazing to see how it's turned from this patch of dirt into something that the community can use. The students, along with Steph Kramer, who really kind of led the first half, along with Aníbal Torres and Gabriel McAdam and Paula, who's here too, I think, maybe. We're focusing on various types of play structures to accommodate for different ages, including things like traveling, so kind of representing ideas of taboo structures that could enable movement and circulation and pattern for the youth. These were some of the kind of early iterations and concept designs from the group. There's a second kind of set of structures just focusing on viewing and flexing, so a series of kind of platforms, also used for exercise as well, I believe. So you'll see some of this down there, very healthy. The third, more for gathering, so focusing on net structures that we've done in the past, but also kind of ideas of being able to lounge and respite for the youth. So we'll see a few of those structures kind of emerging in various sections of the park. Again, conceptual ideas versus the kind of execution. And the last, focusing on traverse terracing, which I believe was just about kind of moving up and down the different slopes on the site. Ultimately, those sketches have turned into this. So this has taken a lot of work from a lot of people who we'll thank in a few minutes, but that dirt patch, a couple of weeks ago or 9 weeks ago has ultimately turned into a place for play, for gathering, for socializing, for activity for the youth and for adults. It offers opportunities for kind of leisure and seating, kind of with the terraces. You'll also see new murals kind of representing different cultural aspects of Costa Rica that were done pretty recently by students. Places for essentially open lawn activities to play soccer, frisbee, again, things that can happen pretty recreationally. Custom play structures. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. So just a huge thank you, I think, to everyone involved in that process, which was a really big effort with our group and also the sponsors in the local community. There's a lot of people that kind of helped make this happen that we're grateful for. These things don't happen, again, with the buy-in, I think, from the community to kind of want to make a better place for each other. So thank you to everyone. Maybe a huge round of applause for everyone that's participated in that. And then one last thing, and we'll let you guys eat snacks and drink coffee and be merry. I just wanted to talk a little bit about our seminar, which we also do in the second half, which is focused on advanced technology typically and sustainable technologies. So this is a little brief preview, but if you want to talk with the students, they have a few artifacts towards the back that you can talk to them about. This was really launched out of the new initiative called The Link at Monteverde Institute. Nacho is the one kind of directing that facility, if I can get you to wave your hands. Awesome. So if you're interested in some of these kinds of tools, I think the link is meant to be an open community asset. I think the students have had a lot of fun being able to kind of organize some projects around these tools. So they have a laser cutter, they have a CNC, they have various 3D printers, VR headsets, so on and so forth. I won't go through the laundry list, but a lot of expensive things that are kind of amazing for the youth and the community to utilize. So there's various projects that you'll see kind of in the back, again, worth the conversation with some of the groups. Inspired by this project, which is like bamboo connections with 3D printing, thinking about spatial structures and 3D printed joints. So this was utilizing the 3D printers in the Institute to kind of assemble bamboo into structures, just kind of thinking about what the next level of construction might be. The second project really focusing on actually the classroom. So a lot of the students talked about plywood and modularity and kind of changing systems. So inspired by furniture that could kind of deal with different types of joinery conditions that allow it to be taken apart and reconfigured into multiple different designs. You'll see that to the table over there, and that group can talk about it if they would like. And then the last project, really leveraging what's called the CNC machine, which is essentially a really large drill with a big drill bit that just kind of operates with computational design. So it moves in 3 axes, and it typically just allows for a lot of carving actions to happen, which would typically be done by hand routers, which Jorge is a professional at this point, so we're not trying to take his job, but hopefully expanding on some of the creative capacity that the Institute has. This student group was taking inspiration from biophilic design and representations of nature and what we can do with the materials that we have now. So they're kind of focusing on movement of water and how these grooves and as a sculpture process can like essentially help with plant growth. So you'll see some biophilic kind of forms of that in the back with their mock-up over there. Cool. That's pretty much it. So if you're interested in the link, if